everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is my 2025 book rewind of every single book I read this year, starting with my 5-star books. This year I read 2 5-star books from my favorite author, Riley Sager. I read one of his books for the first time this year, and the first book that I read of his became my favorite book the entire year and probably of all time. I am obsessed with this book. I have lent it to people. It has been used beyond belief. It has water stains, it's got crinkles because just of the amount that this book has been loved. It is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. It's an incredibly well-written story about Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress whose mom thinks it would be best for her to go to their lake house. So she goes and she spends time at a lake house and she picks up this interesting hobby of watching with binoculars into the house across the lake from her. A completely glass house, and it is occupied by a man and woman who live there. The woman is just a very incredibly well-known, like, supermodel, basically. And Casey finds her drowning in the lake, and there's a lot of questions that get stirred up from it. And that's where she picks up this unusual hobby, and we follow a mystery surrounding the lake itself and also these characters. And it's just super high stakes, and I loved every aspect of it. I love the setting. I think Riley Sager does setting better than a lot of other authors. This was just like the best book. Like, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's to read this book, The House Across the Lake. My second 5-star read from Riley Sager is a lot of people's 1-star read from Riley Sager. And I don't think that that's fair because I am obsessed with this book. I loved every aspect of it. I wrote in it so heavily that I can't even lend it to people because I have the word yay written through an entire page, because this book just had me feeling every emotion possible. It is With a Vengeance. With a Vengeance follows somebody trying to seek revenge on people who she believes were responsible for her family's death. And so she gathers them all onto this train that is going to take no stops and lead them straight to the FBI, basically. And on this train, we start to see people getting murdered. And we don't know who it is. It's a mystery. Everyone wants to put the blame on the person who got them on the train in the first place. You know, the person seeking revenge. But we soon find out that maybe that's not always the case, and that maybe there's other motives for people who are on this train. It was just such a good plot, and although we remained on a train the entire time, we got each separate room of the train, and it almost felt like a game of Clue. And it just gave me a really, like, Clue vibe, and I just loved every aspect of it. I thought it was so well written. There were some descriptions in it where I was like, oh, that was really well done. Anyway. My next 5-star read is from Lynn Painter, who you will see more books of later in this video, same as to Riley Sager. Betting on You. It was my only 5-star book from her. The other ones were great, but this one was just it was so perfect for what it is. It's a romance, and there's a miscommunication trope, but it's well written to the point where you're not like, oh, a miscommunication trope, that's so dumb. It was beautifully constructed. I liked the scenes and the forced proximity scenes between the two characters. I just liked the overall vibe and description. Overall, this was just a really good read, and I also got the one with the sprayed edges. I just had a lot of fun reading this. This is a really cutesy, fun little book rather than like an intense thriller. These next 2 5-star books are from an author who you'll also see later in the video. This is from Anne Lang. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, and I always feel so bad filming these videos and not knowing how to pronounce it. I've looked up how to pronounce it. I just can't pronounce it very well, but I love her writing. She's probably one of my favorite authors ever. And I have two books of hers that I rated 5 stars. I'd say that it's pretty good. First, I have This Time It's Real. This is a romance between somebody who's, I think, super academic, and then somebody who is a movie star, and there's a fake dating trope, and it's just really cute, and I really liked it. It felt fast-paced, and it felt like what I needed in the moment when I was reading it. I really liked it. I think I also liked it because there's reason behind the fake dating trope. It was very constructed, where it was like, wow, this is perfect. Like, I can't believe that this was created in someone's mind. So this is really good. Next, I rated this 5 stars, but it took me a long time to get through. But the reason I rated this 5 stars is because of how much how much I would urge you to just like take your time and digest the text in this. I have so much stuff highlighted in this book because it was just so beautifully written. Like, it almost like makes you want to like cry because it's just so pretty. Like, the first sentence of the book is, "I've always had this theory that if I want something badly enough, the universe will make sure to keep it just out of my reach, either out of boredom or cruelty, like an invisible hand dangling stars on a string." That is I Am Not Jessica Chen. Wonderful book. I Am Not Jessica Chen also follows a body swap trope in a way. You'll see why it's different from normal body swap tropes, and it was such a very interesting like take on it. I loved the concept, and I loved how it had a very clear moral. Beautiful. The next book that I rated 5 stars was My Life with the Walter Boys. The only thing is, the second book that I read of that, I think I only rated it like 2.5, 3 stars. And I'm saying that together, even though that one's not a 5 stars, only because, you know, they're duology. So yeah, My Life with the Walter Boys was a 5 stars. I think it helped that I had watched the show first because I was able to differentiate the billions of characters in this story. I think if you go into this blind without having watched the show first, you're gonna be very confused and you're gonna have to map out a tree. But a really amazing part of this book is that it already maps out a tree for you. Each individual character is great. The second book in that duology, I'm just gonna mention it right now, by Ali Novak, it just wasn't as good. There was like an unnecessary like spice element to it. I didn't like it very much. It also fell short of like the love triangle and only circled on the 2 main characters, which love that, but I wish I could see why the main character liked the other guy in this situation. Because it ended up just being a love line, not a love triangle. And I was like confused. I was like, there needs to be moments with each character in order for it to be a triangle. My next 5-star read is Tag Your Dead by Catherine Foxfield. This was amazing. I love her writing so much. It's a big epic deathly game of tag. Extremely interesting. It has technology element to it that's like super creative. I really enjoyed this, and I loved the perspectives of different people. They were such well-defined characters with just very articulate ways of speaking that differentiated each and every one of them. It was just very beautiful. This is just such an interesting concept for a thriller. I hadn't ever read anything like this. It's such a good change in like the normal tropes. Next is Winterwood by Shia Earnshaw. I rated this book 5 stars. It was the first book that I read of this year, so maybe that says something, but I really liked it. Witchy element to it. It's very Halloween, set in the mountains, very snowy. 5-star book is The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It is currently being borrowed by a friend of mine because I recommended it as one would to a 5-star book. But it follows a ton of teenage prodigies trying to solve unsolved cases. Crazy mystery. There's a love triangle. I've never continued the series because I have a really bad habit of reading the first book of a series and then not completing it. But it was just an amazing book. I loved it so much. This is The Boy Who Steals Houses. This is about a boy who is homeless, who has had a really rough childhood, and has a brother who is high on the spectrum for autism that he kind of has to help through everyday life tasks with, while also being homeless and trying to help himself. And it's this balance aspect, and it's just very beautifully written. It's more of a literary fiction, but there is like some romance in it. He breaking into people's houses when they're on vacation and trying to spend the night there. This is by C.G. Drews. Okay, next is my favorite trilogy. This trilogy changed the way I look at life. I love this trilogy with my heart and soul. If I ever get a tattoo of a book, it would be of this trilogy. This is the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy by Stephanie Garber. I it's so beautifully written. It's fantasy, there's romance, very high stakes. Yeah, so it follows Jack, the Prince of Hearts, who has a deadly kiss, and Evangeline, who makes a pretty risky bargain with Jax. And we follow that story. This was not enough. See how much writing this is? This is still not enough. So, urge you strongly to read that. Last, but definitely not least for my 5-star books is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I had read the first chapter of this a while ago, being a fantasy hater, and was like, I'm never reading this. This is so bad. Boy, was I wrong. Some of the best writing I've ever read, and from such a young author, it's insane to me how she's built such a defined world and characters. It is about this girl named Peyton who was born powerless. And Kai, who is the king's son, sent to kill those who are powerless. Next is 4-star books. We're gonna start off with Riley Sager books, of course. A 4-star book from Riley Sager this year was The Only One Left. I didn't rate this quite 5 stars because it did not measure up to the 2 that I rated 5 stars, and also because there were so many twists to the point where I was getting very, very highly confused. But I loved the setting of this. It is set in my state. It's this crooked house on top of a mountain, and there's a caretaker sent to take care of this older woman who has a nursery rhyme about her being a murderer. The caretaker is sent to take care of her without knowing if the rumors are true or not. We find out the truth through the old woman, who takes up the hobby of typing out the real story on a typewriter. Very interesting concept, very good book. Next is Lynn Painter's Better Than the Movies. I did not rate this 5 stars, sadly, sorry. Only because it was not as good as Betting on You. And I can't remember much of it. But I do remember that it made me feel happy reading it. So I can't really tell you much about the book, but I can tell you that it made me feel happy reading it. That all I remember is something about a parking spot, and that's how they meet. I hope that's helpful to you. Next is an Anne Lang book. This is I Hope This Doesn't Find You. This is about Sadie Wen, who takes up the hobby of writing tons of hate emails to those who she dislikes. And one day these emails accidentally get sent out. And she has written especially large amount of hate emails to her biggest school rival, Julius Gaume. And this puts her in quite a predicament, and we have to watch her recover from this. It's super funny, witty dialogue. It's my first book I read of this author, and clearly I liked it enough to continue reading her books. So, urge you strongly to read that. Next is Catherine Fox Field's Getting Away with Murder. Same author who wrote Tag You're Dead, but Getting Away with Murder was very interesting. This is a thriller that takes place in a very, very, very large, high-tech escape room. And there was a very big scene in this book where the characters get trapped in a ball pit that takes up the entire room, and they have to get out before they basically die. And that plays in my head all the time because it was so vividly written. Like, everything in this book was so vivid and so unique that it really stuck with me, and I really enjoyed it. The only thing is, I didn't rate it 5 stars because I felt like the characters weren't as defined as I'd like them to be. Next is the Inheritance Game series. Now, I rated the first Inheritance Game book 5 stars. This is just like an odd in-between of all the stars because it's a series. This is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, the person who wrote The Naturals. The Inheritance Games, the first book, 5 stars. I loved it. It was great. Great introduction. The Hawthorne Legacy, I think I rated it 3 stars. Got super confused. Had to start mapping out the character family tree.
Okay, here's my manuscript, right? Vincent Blake had Will Blake. Will Blake had Toby. Leo got killed. Toby knew about it. Vincent held Toby captive, thinking, oh, I know Toby's relation to Avery, and I'm going to use Avery to figure out what happened to my son, Will. So I'm going to hold Toby in captive to play with Avery's feelings so that Avery will figure out where Will was buried this entire time. And then he sent his great-granddaughter, I believe it's his great-granddaughter, because he had Will had Toby, Toby had Eve. And Eve, he's like, yo, like, you're my family, and she's like sent out to get, what's it called? She went out to find Will Blake's body because she knew that she would get one of those like coin things, and that she would be honorable enough to be included in Vincent's fortune, so she'd be rich. So basically, Eve is greedy, Vincent is greedy, Toby and Will don't know much about Will, he's dead. Toby's fine. Mallory Wallen is Miss Wallen's daughter who got with Will to have Toby. Oh my chicken pot pie! I think that's what's happening here. I'm like almost positive that that's what's happening. But then that would make Toby not Hawthorne at all. Except Toby was like secretly adopted into the Hawthorne name. So technically he is at the same time a Hawthorne. I'm so lost. He's like a Blake, a Wallen, or a Hawthorne. Or a mix of both. I'm lost.
The Final Gambit got really confused again, but I believe I rated it 4 stars, question mark, because it was better than the middle one. I can't really remember what I rated them. I have it written down in a journal, but I don't feel like getting that out right now, so anyway. Okay, now we're going to do 3-star books. I have a lot of 3-star books. I think 3 is kind of my safe number on the scale, because it's like right in between. So yeah. Okay, we're just gonna start with this stack because these are the familiar authors I've talked about already in this video. Let's start with Lynn Painter. I Have Nothing Like the Movies. This was the sequel to Better Than the Movies, and I rated this 3 stars because the story was good. Sure, dumb old miscommunication trope, but it was well written. Besides from the fact that it had a lot of harsh language, and I didn't totally vibe with it. I didn't totally vibe with it as much as I remember vibing with the first one. So that was a 3-star book for me. Along with her other book, The Do-Over. The Do-Over was really good, but I remember there being like a big plot hole where a car is completely like wrecked, and then in the next scene she's in that car and the car is completely fine. That threw me for a loop. I was like, especially when it's on the front cover that it's wrecked, it feels like something that you should probably stay consistent with. That's the only reason I give this a 3-star. But this is about a girl repeating Valentine's Day over and over again, and it's very funny. It has good dialogue. It's cute. I like it. It's fast-paced, easy read. Next is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I remember when it revealed the killer, I was like, who's that? I had completely forgotten about the character because I was so confused. I was just so confused with all the characters, but I remember liking the vibe of this book, so I gave it a 3 stars. Plus, it's Riley Sager, so I was kind of afraid to name a second book of his anything under that. This is a very haunted house, child sees ghosts vibe. Yeah. These next 2 are by Anne. Never Thought I'd End Up Here. This is a model who is sent on a trip so that she can relearn the language she grew up with to romance, and it's really good, and I liked it a lot, but it was slow paced, and so I rated it 3 stars. Along with If You Could See the Sun. A girl turns invisible, and she decides to start a website where she gives out people's secrets. Interesting concept. Rated it 3 stars because there was something about it that I didn't like. I think it was the characters. I don't think I like the characters very much. Okay, next is this romance book, The Summer of Broken Rules. Interesting concept. Too much spice for me. Cute sprayed edges though. It was an interesting concept. This girl ends up on this little island with a lot of family and friends of family, and they all basically play like a game of senior assassin, but with each other with water guns. It's super fun and like fast, but just, yeah, like I said, a little too much for me, but I do remember enjoying this, and I think about it a lot because of the feeling it gave me, because I read it by my open window on a nice summer day, and I remember just feeling very summery reading this. The descriptions of food, the french fries, and the salty water, and the sand, and just very, very summer. Next is Dead Girls Can't Tell Secrets by Chelsea Acheso. Good book, nothing too special about it. Camping thriller, very interesting. Class trip type of vibe. Yeah, it was good. Not Quite Dead Yet. Looking back, I think I might give this a 2-star. It's by Holly Jackson, who wrote the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which I have never read. This is my first Holly Jackson book. I felt it was extremely predictable. I felt this was extremely predictable. A lot of people would argue with me, I didn't like the main character. She was 27, I believe. She was written younger than I am, so didn't like that. Didn't like her character at all, and she's the main character. But I rated it a 3-star because of the writing. Okay, I believe that was all for 3-star books, so now we're just gonna do 2-star books and 1-star books all at once. Okay, this is Future Ella interrupting this video briefly because a part got cut out, or I forgot to film it and thought I did. I rated the book Middle of the Night by Riley Sager 2 stars and possibly even 1 now, because I felt as though the main character had the same issue of the book Not Quite Dead Yet, where the main character was supposed to be an older man, but was written really young. He's supposed to be at least in his 40s, and I felt like he was written like he was still 10 years old. It had 2 different time flashbacks, so it had one perspective of the boy when he was a kid and one when he was older, and it felt like they were the same age throughout the entire book. So I think that really drew away from the story, and also it became very predictable and just kind of felt like didn't really have that thriller aspect to a thriller. I believe I only have 2 1-star books. I think that's pretty good. We Did Nothing Wrong by Hannah Jane. So many typos that it got so distracting I started highlighting them. Only picked up in the last 3 chapters. The 2 main characters have nearly identical names, so it's hard to differentiate between them. They're the same age, they're practically twins. So like you're confused the entire book. I honestly wouldn't care if they never solved this mystery. Next is Pumpkin Spice and Everything Nice by Katie's, I don't know how to pronounce that. The cover's nice for Pumpkin Spice, it's cute. It's got a little fall design, holographic colors. The main character's whole entire personality revolved around her hating pumpkin spice lattes because of the bad ingredients in it. But she is a baker and works at a coffee shop where she makes tons of stuff with other bad ingredients in it. So we don't ever really understand why she just hates pumpkin spice ingredients when they're the same ingredients that she uses in everything else. And that's her whole personality. It's supposed to be a romance, as you can tell from the cover. I don't even think they come close to each other. I don't even think they hug. I think that they're enemies throughout the entire book. She pies him in the face. That's about the closest they ever get to each other. Maybe these authors give them a chance, because maybe they have better books out there. But from my experience, I do not like their books. Anyway, that is my 2025 recap. I hope this was an informational video for you, fun to watch, and you saw my goal not get hit. I was supposed to read 50 books this year, only read 34, but I think that's a good amount. Bye!